What is this thing doing back in here?
We got upgrades to do, man.
Oh, God. All right, Cody, what are we doing with the Jeep today?
A few different mods.
Okay.
Mainly 3 big mods.
Okay.
Which are, I got some Eibach Pro Series lowering springs.
Okay.
I got a B Woody rear diff brace.
Yep.
And then we got some EMP intake manifold spacers.
Okay. Why? why are you doing it?
So, here in about 35 days, we have Rocky Mountain Race Week coming up.
Yep.
The past 2 years, after putting in the spreadsheet all of our numbers, all of our runs, the Jeep's fastest time on race week was like a 13:0 something. You know, we've had a 13:0 average there, but that is our very best pass of the day.
Yep.
So like everything has to line up just right.
Yep.
So we're doing these mods to hopefully be right at that 1299, 13:0, you know, more consistent 13:0s instead of 13:2, 13:4, you know, here and there, and then very best pass. So we're hoping that with the rear diff brace, that will help my 60-foot time.
Okay.
The springs, lower it down a little bit, give it a lower center of gravity, same thing, 60-foot time.
Yep.
With the intake manifold spacers, hoping to keep the intake air temperature down just a little bit.
Okay.
Give it, you know, space it out a little bit, give it a little bit more airflow. It might add just a horsepower or 2. It might take away, probably, on the top end.
We just know race week's hot.
Race week's hot. The Jeep does not like being hot.
No.
Anything we can do to keep it cool, because that's its very best pass that we have to just let it sit there, cool down, and have everything lined up, you know, to run that 13:0. So if we can just do it pretty consistently, more consistently, then, you know, we'll be better off at hopefully winning that class.
Yeah. So we're not adding power. That's the biggest thing. The spacers are going to help the intake charge stay cooler. So it might, like you said, tickle a little more horsepower just by being cooler.
Yeah.
But mainly cool it down and keep it consistent. A little more aggressive stance, a little more stiffer off the line. Yeah, I think you're on the right track. Let me show them real quick what we're talking about. All right, so what Cody was talking about, we put together a spreadsheet. So like 13:0, 12:9, 13:1, 13:2, 13:3. Right, so we put together a spreadsheet of every good pass that we had. And 13:0, that line right there, our passes were like, you know, all up here. What we're wanting to do is shift all of our runs down because our average is right up here. We want to get that average down to 13:0. And I mean, we need a 10th. We don't need 100 horsepower. We don't need slicks. We don't need anything crazy. Another thing I don't think you mentioned, we are going to try to remove a little bit of weight where we can remove some weight. We don't want to take any accessories off the Jeep. We don't want to, you know, take away from the Jeep itself. But Cody's got some ideas of some slight weight savings. I think we can weigh the springs and see if that takes any away. The intake spacers are going to add a pound or 2.
Yeah, the diff brace will add a few pounds. The springs probably be the same. They have more coils because they're a different spring rate. Sure. But it should be about the same.
We can say with these modifications, we'll add 15, 20 pounds. Yeah. Somewhere in there. So we want to offset that, remove a little more weight. We want to keep it just consistent. Yep. We know where we're at. Right. We know what we're capable of. We just want to make it consistent. Right. So this pig is going to have to be consistent this year. All right, what we got?
So this is our B Woody diff brace.
Okay.
You don't replace any braces, you just add in a brace.
Okay.
So that's what these bolts are for. These replace your factory bolts, because when they go through here, your diff brace will be here, which you'll see it when we do it.
Okay.
So comes with the bolts and the brace.
Okay.
Billet aluminum EMP performance intake manifold spacers. Okay. So hopefully with that being, I don't know, inch and a half, hopefully it'll raise the intake manifold up off the block give it a little bit more airflow underneath it. Hopefully that heat transfer won't just soak into the intake so much.
Sure.
Just that little bit, you know, like you said, we're not trying to just add a lot of power.
Yeah.
Just minor things. That's really all we're needing.
Okay.
And then,
Yeah. Yeah.
we got some.
Accidentally doxed Cody there for a second. All right, what we got here?
Got our Eibach Pro Series lowering springs. These are just spring replacements.
Okay.
I have been wanting to do this ever since I've had the Jeep.
Yep. Ooh, Bubba.
And that is the...
Wow.
So, 4 springs.
Yep.
Along with the bump stops.
Nice. Okay, I have no idea what the suspension on these Jeeps are like, but you've watched a few videos. So apparently we need a compressor, a spring compressor for the front.
Harbor Freight.
Harbor Freight spring compressor for the front to match the Harbor Freight jacks and tools and everything else. Hey, Harbor Freight, shoot us an email, you know, for sponsorship. But yeah, I don't know what these Jeep suspension is like. I know in the back you don't have to do the spring compressor because the strut and the spring are separate.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I'd like to do some measurements before we lower it.
Let's do it.
Okay, let's walk around the Jeep and kind of measure and see how much is it supposed to lower it. Okay, that tells me all I need to know. Let me get the tape measure. All right, so measurements before. We're gonna measure all the what, fenders?
Yeah.
Okay. What are you looking at?
31 3/4.
Okay.
$33 1/4.
Okay.
Golly.
It's a Jeep, all right.
Yep, 33 1/4.
Okay.
31 3/4.
All right. I mean, look at that. I could crawl under there without jacking this thing up.
Yeah.
I could crawl all the way through. I think on race week last
We have
year.
replaced the transfer pump
Yeah.
on race week without any jack.
Yeah, without lifting it up. I think I changed the fluid last year
Yeah.
without jacking it up.
Yeah, I can't fit under there. only to right here.
Yeah.
But you could.
I could crawl all the way through there.
I did that on purpose.
All right. All right, I guess we'll get started on
Man,
these.
I'm excited.
Oh, what are we doing first?
Springs.
Springs first.
Springs. We figured it's gonna take the longest.
Okay.
And I just can't wait.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
You've been talking about this for a while.
Yeah, a few years now.
All right, let's get started on these springs.
Let's do it.
All right, so we got it up in the air. We got the front tires off. What are we doing now?
That's all I know.
Let's look. Let's see what we got.
So, I know we gotta take upper ball joint out.
Okay. So undo that nut right there.
The bottom mounting bolt for the strut.
Okay.
Possibly the sway bar. We're gonna try to do it without that. We're gonna see how far it can drop down.
Okay.
But undo these two, see how much room we got, and then you got the 3 on top holding the strut.
Okay.
Then we'll see if we have to do the sway bar.
So one nut, take that bolt out of the bottom, and then the 3 nuts on the top, and
Yeah.
then we'll see where we're at.
Yep.
Okay. Well, you did it. So what all did you have to take loose?
Whatever YouTube says it's wrong.
Okay, so walk us through what you ended up doing.
Okay.
Yep.
Upper ball joint,
Yeah, took that loose.
nut off. The bottom bolt that goes through the bottom of the strut,
Yep.
through the bottom of the control arm, out.
Yep.
Sway bar end link, out. Steering
Tie rod in.
tie rod in, out. Axle nut, out.
And then strut out.
Push down and pull.
Great job, buddy. Dude, I'm sweating watching you. It looks
It's so humid.
it looks pretty rough. Hey, you got this one out though.
It's out.
So just do the same thing to the other side.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's go. All right, so Cody's kind of drying the floor because it was raining when he pulled it in here. We went ahead and marked This passenger side went up, so I think they said to make sure the top and the bottom bellow stayed in line when you swap this spring, so you don't rotate this top part around. So we marked it with right side, and we marked all the way up and down, including the bellows. That's where that one goes, that's where that one goes. So when we put this new spring in, we know that lines up with that. We also went ahead and put a mark where the end of the coil is at. I don't know if the Eibach springs are gonna line up with that, but we put it there just in case. It gives us another point of reference. So we're gonna work on pulling this other side out now. Step one, unplug it.
Unplug.
Tie rod end is out.
Lots of WD.
Axle nut is off.
3/4 sway bar end link. Or 3/4 and a 5/16 because it's spinning inside its own self.
Yeah,
So now you gotta.
those always suck. Sway bar end link. Upper ball joint bolt. Nice. Good catch. Thud.
Hello.
Lower strut bolt out. That's everything, right? Except the top three.
Yep, top 3.
All right. You trying to pop your axle out?
Yeah, it's actually not that hard. I can do it with my thumb.
Nice.
So, just gives you that extra
Yeah.
little bit you need. You
Yep.
really, really need.
All right. You ready for the top?
Yeah. Push that up a little bit.
Okay.
Top.
Coming. All right. You ready down there? It's all you, brother. You all right? You need a hand?
Yeah.
All right. All right, so we got both of them out after a big pain in the ass. Cody's got this Harbor Freight beautiful spring compressor. And we have never used a spring compressor before. I've always just swapped from the stock suspension to coilovers. I've never just done the springs. Okay. So this one just a little bit. We're loose. That means we can take the top bolt off, right? The top nut?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna back up a little bit.
Yeah.
What?
It's spinning.
What's spinning?
The whole stud.
The whole stud?
Yeah.
All right, Cody, so what just happened?
When you put the impact on it to take the nut out,
Yeah.
the whole stud's spinning.
Okay.
So
that nut down in there.
that nut is spinning this stud.
So the nut and the stud are both spinning at the same time. So I don't know if you guys can see it very well on the camera, but that stud actually has like a hex head, right? Kind of like the, what was it, the sway bar end link?
Yes.
So it's got a nut and the stud.
5/16 socket to fit on it.
Yep.
So we was trying to think of a way to hold the nut still while we can spin the stud.
Yep. Or hold the stud, spin the nut. Either way.
This is what we came up with. We cut a chrome socket in half, welded it to this steel plate.
Yeah.
So we can hold the nut
Yep.
and spin the stud. Or vice versa.
In theory, this
theory.
should work. Okay. Let me set this up on it. Oh, did you get it?
Something's already moving.
Okay. It looks like you're tightening the stud, which I guess would be loosening the nut. If you're spinning the stud clockwise, you're technically loosening the nut, right? Because the nut's got to come off. The stud
Right.
stays. So basically, instead of spinning the nut, if you tighten the stud, the nut will just come off.
Yeah, it's backing itself
Yep.
off.
So I guess just tighten the nut and see what happens.
The stud.
Tighten the stud, see what happens. God, this is so confusing. Backwards engineering tools here.
All while we have some Harbor Freight
Yeah.
spring compressors
Holding this bomb.
pressed together.
I kept putting my face at the end of it trying to look at that nut. So guys, just a heads up, everything on this Jeep is really rusty. So all the nuts and bolts on this thing, I don't know if you're going to be able to see it very well, but everything has rust on it. So especially all the suspension stuff is super rusty, super greasy. And if you guys see, this strut is black. So normally they're yellow. If you can see the yellow originally there. The previous owner, I guess, saw all the rust on the suspension and decided I'll just spray paint the suspension black to make everybody think it's not that rusty. I wouldn't put my face over the end of that while you're doing that.
I'm just praying.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I love Harbor Freight, but it is what it is, man.
Okay.
You all right?
Yeah, let me go. So it's backed off a good bit,
Let's see.
enough to where
Oh, it's
the
working.
5/16 barely catching now.
Okay.
So let me try to put the impact on it and see if I can
Zip it off the rest of the way.
zip it the rest of it.
Okay.
Oh!
It's not working? How the heck are we going to get it the rest of the way? Move real slow. Go real slow.
Now.
I don't know. I'm going to stand over here though. Oh my God. I'm gonna hold the bottom. I want you to pull that spring off, okay? And take it away from me.
Thought you said you was gonna hold it.
Buddy, I got one hand and I am leaning very far away. Go take that thing across the garage. Why are you aiming it at my car? All right, let me Yeah, let me explain to these people what we just had to go through. So this stud, if you can see that, has a hex head on it, and this entire stud was spinning on here, just spinning. So we designed that tool to hold the nut while we tightened the stud, which was basically just letting the nut come off. But we got to the end, and the nut was sitting up flush with the top of this. Where's the nut at? Give me the nut. Yeah, so the nut got to the very end, and we could no longer grab that stud. So I started hammering a slot into that thing to try to hold it with a screwdriver. That didn't work. So then we decided we were going to drill a hole into the end of that and then tap it and put a bolt in it to hold the bolt still while we loosen the nut. So we've been trying everything. And while Cody was drilling a hole in the end of this thing, if I can focus on that, I was holding the nut with the tool while he was drilling it, and the drill bit started tightening that stud, which loosened the nut until it just went.
And then we've been on edge.
Yeah, we've been moving real slow. I mean, real slow. That was a little unexpected, but it's off. It's off. I don't know how we're getting all that back together, but it's off.
We got to do it.
Yeah, it is what it is. I mean, we're this far
We
in.
have this home tonight.
We done tore the daily apart. Okay, all right. Oh my God, we're alive. Breathe. Breathe, we're alive.
Oh my gosh.
Now we just get to do all of this in reverse.
Can I drive your car home tonight?
No, buddy. I'm sorry. Okay, we got it cleaned up as good as it's gonna be. So now,
Yeah.
bump stop. Let's see that old one.
Old one.
Nice. Luckily, Eibach supplies a new one
New one.
with the new springs. Bevel facing up, just like that. Now we gotta compress the new spring.
Yeah.
And when we put the top on, we gotta make sure the bevel, the lines line up. Yep, put the spring on there.
Make a mark.
Yep, set that back on there. All right. Are you? That makes one of us. All right, we got the spring compressed. We got the bump stop in. We are ready. Top two on. See if I'm lined up everywhere. All right, double check we're lined up, and we'll take the compressors off. Buddy, this might be the most stressful job I've ever done.
Agreed.
Like, building engines is nothing compared to swapping springs like that. Especially when it's rusty. Nothing works. But hey, we did it. We did it. Give me that. We've done one. All right, let's do the other one. After another 2 hours.
And another homemade tool.
Another homemade tool. I can't even focus on it at this point. We've made 2 tools and we finally got this second one off. Again, problem was both of them were spinning, the nut and the stud. So it took everything we had to get this one out, but it's off. You want to pull the top off that thing? I think it's attached to the spring. Yep. Aim that thing at me. All right, so I'm not gonna bore you guys with putting all this stuff back together. We're gonna shove both of these in the front, zip everything back on really tight, and then we'll come back when we're doing the rears. All right, Cody, the front's officially done and on the ground.
And a 1/4 inch higher.
We don't want to talk about it. We're not gonna talk about how low it got, okay? Or how high it got. We don't want to say it's a 1/4 inch higher. We want to say it's more performance oriented now.
It's got aftermarket springs on it.
Yeah, I'm going to say what anybody would say. It's got to settle. it's got to settle. But we'll remeasure once everything's done. So Cody's spraying down everything we got to take apart in the back. We've watched a video on this. That was on a track hawk. It's a little bit different. But I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to do this side without filming just because we're going to make some mistakes. When we do the other side, we'll talk you through what we're doing, because then we're going to be pros. After we do one side, we're professionals, right?
That's right.
And this one, like we said, the shock, the strut, whatever, is separated from the spring. So you need to take everything loose to drop this all down so you can wiggle that spring out and put the new one in. So there's no spring compressor or anything needed for the rear.
Thank the Lord.
Thank the Lord. All right, let's get this side done and then we'll record the other side. All right, so we got one side done, right?
Yes, sir.
So what do we do? What are we taking off of here?
The bottom bolt of the strut.
Yep.
Bottom bolt of the end link.
Yep, the sway bar end link, yep.
Toe link.
I think camber or upper control arm?
This one.
Yeah. Trailing arm.
Trailing arm.
That bolt off the trailing arm. And then something you got to watch out for is this
ABS line.
yeah, the ABS sensor there. When you're trying to push all this assembly down, it's going to tug on this pretty good. We just unattached it from that little bracket right there. It gave us enough room to squeeze that spring out of there. Yep. All right, so we're gonna rip all them bolts out real quick, and I'll come back when that spring's coming out of there. All right, so what all we got? We got the end link, little end link. The bottom of that thing is unbolted. Yep, we got this trailing arm unbolted. I think this is the upper control arm. We got that, I forget what that bar back there is. All this stuff unbolted. We got plenty of room on our sensor here, so we're not ripping it out. All right, and then we snatch that spring out of there. It's that easy, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
All right, let me grab your other one. And then you swap the top perch and the bottom perch. Swap those to your new spring, throw it in, and reverse of disassembly. All right, so the rear, we got the rear done last night. Started on it this morning, so Cody drove it home. The suspension should be kind of relaxed now. We are exhausted because it's been a long 2 days. Today we're working on getting the rear diff mount installed. So poor Cody's down there. He already got this rear under tray off with all these little plastic tabs that go along here. I think there's 6 that hold that flat piece on right here.
And 2 in the front.
Yeah, and 2 in the front. Goodness, so 8 of those little plastic tabs.
You can see the amount of dirt that's coming off of this thing just from being tucked up under there. That's giving us access back here to the rear diff. So where does that brace go?
Take these 2 bolts out.
Yep.
Put your new bolts in.
Yep.
And then you drill holes into your subframe.
Okay.
And put they provided the hardware. You put bolts into the subframe.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll start working on that, I guess. Well, unfortunately, the way this rear end is, that mount will not work on this Jeep. So that mount is made for 2015 and up because it's slightly different back here. And this is the 2014. So we're gonna skip the diff brace and move on to the intake manifold spacers. But for those wondering, I can put we found a video of an install of one of them. I can put that in the description. So if you guys are curious, you can see how to put a diff brace on as long as it's 2015 and up. All right, so the rest of the mods were kind of a bust. The rear diff, as I just said, not really made for this year Jeep. And the intake manifold spacers, we don't have the hardware that we needed. Basically, you need longer bolts to go through those spacers. And we do not have those, so we can't put it in right now, and we need to get new intake manifold gaskets anyways. So for today, the rear diff brace and the intake manifold spacers are not going on. The good news is the springs are all on, all the way around. It is technically lower. According to our tape measure, it's about 1/4 inch lower in the front and about 1/2 inch lower in the rear, which I don't know why, but it looks lower than that. It looks like the Jeep sits more level and it's lower, but I don't know. The tape measure is telling me I'm dramatic, but it looks lower to me.
I mean, yeah, it looks like.
It looks good. It looks really good. I feel good about it though. So performance spring upgrade.
I like them.
Yeah, I like it too. But we're pretty beat right now. Yesterday kind of took it out of us and it's so humid. We're exhausted. But I think that's gonna do it for this video because we can't move forward with the brace or the spacers for now. So I think that's gonna do it for this video. If you guys have any questions, leave them in the comments and we'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.